I'm Leonard Nimoy. Join me for In Search of...
And our name is...
Yes.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Jim Gentili. I'm here with my usual cohort, John, Peggy, Shelly, Beth, and we have a special guest tonight, Ian Williamson, who, if you remember from the last episode, will give his side of what it's like to be objectified by two women in a bar in Indianapolis.
Yes.
But before we get to that, we have other business. 54 years ago today, the number one song, the number one record in the U.S. was War by Edwin Starr. We are 68 days away from the election. According to the Silver Bulletin by Nate Silver, Donald Trump has a 52% chance of winning the election as of today. How many of you saw any part of the Democratic convention, and quickly thoughts on it, real quick?
I saw a lot of it, but not all of it. I definitely saw Kamala's. Is it Kamala's or Kamala? Tell me.
Kamala. Like a comma at the end of the
don't
sentence.
offend anybody. Kamala's speech.
Too late. We're offended by the fact that you don't know.
All right. This is supposed to be quick. Ian, quick impression of Kamala's speech.
It's refreshing. Just the difference between two old guys up there. See somebody young and vibrant and passionate, and a great story. She had a really great story. It was very impressive.
All right. Anybody else want to add to that? I agree with that completely.
I saw it, some of it. I recorded it and only watched what I wanted to watch. And I will just say that I felt like it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a coincidence that the women speakers far superior to the male speakers.
Just like on this podcast, as we can all agree. Anybody else?
I watched it, and I watched it every single night and stayed up 3 hours past my bedtime. I enjoyed it. I was a little questioning why certain people were on there, but I still enjoyed it immensely. It was entertaining.
Okay. John,
It was
Pep?
good.
Tough. That was terse. I'll give
Highly
you that.
scripted.
John,
Highly
Beth, you have
scripted,
anything
but
to
good.
They're always highly scripted.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
really enjoyed it, and as I texted to the group, it gave me optimism again that I hadn't felt since 2008, and I stand by my thoughts that Tim Walz is the guy we need now. I mean, Midwest, football coach, teacher, National Guard, like that's going to speak to a lot more people than Josh Shapiro in my mind. And forget Jim about delivering Pennsylvania. I think we're missing the middle again.
We're going to change the name of this podcast to Jim is wrong about the VP selection. Other business I need to talk about. Friend of the podcast and former guest, Eloise Maxwell, got married last week.
Oh, God. Everybody's, they're
to
dropping
Eloise
like
and
flies.
Well, I think you meant to say congratulations
Yes,
to
that's
Eloise and Ed, of course, yes. Yes, it's just a slight Midwestern colloquialism for congratulations, if you're listening, Eloise. Also, friend of the podcast and former guest Nicole Serrano listened to the last episode and texted me that it sounds like it's horrible to find an apartment in New York. It's much easier in College Station, Texas, which is where she lives, and I should move there. So I think other listeners of the podcast should feel free to let me know where they think I should go to rather than New York. I know most of them probably want to say hell, but that's fine too if that's your opinion. Finally, those of you who listened attentively to the last episode may recall Beth Shannon briefly referencing the comparative difficulties of housebreaking boyfriends versus housebreaking dogs. On that note, I was in my doctor's office in the waiting room,
Lord.
and they had an episode of Family Feud on. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the game show Family Feud, the format is they survey a bunch of people and ask them a question with the answer, what would you say the best blank is, or something like that.
Nobody needs a summary of what
the people have to guess which is the most popular answer. So here was the question that is relevant for tonight, which all of you will guess what the most popular answer is. The question is, They surveyed 100 women and asked them why they might prefer to sleep with a dog rather than with a man.
A dog doesn't snore.
There were
Do you want the answer now? Yeah, snoring. It's got to be.
Snoring.
Okay, you can't give the same answer, Ian, but you can give a different answer.
I don't have a different answer. Snoring makes sense.
Come on, that's the only reason you
Doesn't
can think
steal
of.
the covers.
Shelley, you can't give
Shelley,
two.
you already gave one reason.
I'll take snoring then.
Shelley is determined to give everybody's answers for them.
Fuzzy and cozy.
Okay. Anybody else? We got snoring and fuzzy and cozy.
And doesn't steal covers.
And doesn't want
Oh,
sex.
well, okay, so you're taking Shelley's answer, doesn't steal the covers? Okay.
I'm saying doesn't want sex.
Okay. Ian, you're left. One more
Doesn't
answer.
get up in the night to go to the toilet.
Doesn't fart in the middle of the night.
All right. Here are the answers.
I'm not farting, Shelley.
Rising order. Answer number 7 was John's answer. Warmer and furrier.
Depends on the man.
Answer
Depends
number
on the man
6
there.
was and the dog. Answer number 6 was more affectionate.
Wow.
Answer number 5 was takes up less room in the bed.
Depends on the dog.
Answer number 4, Peggy Bennett, no expectation of sex. Answer number 3, more loyal and faithful.
Ooh.
Answer number 2,
the bread.
Shelley, no snoring.
Number 2.
And the number 1 answer, dogs like to cuddle. So there we go. You guys did.
I would say
don't go on Family Feud.
Shocking that it's not snoring.
Yeah.
Now, we will turn over my responsibilities to Miss Shelley, who will talk about our special guest today.
Oh, well, that was a left turn I did not anticipate. So,
well, I think one of us should talk about him because we know him better than you, Shelley.
So it is my great pleasure to introduce Ian Williamson to this podcast audience of tens of people.
Of tens.
And I think that the best format for this is just to, if you listen to the last podcast, you heard how we met and the circumstances that Peggy Bennett played in that union. So I think the best way to start maybe is just to talk about who he is, where he came from, what does he believe in, where is he going, and
It's only an hour. 1 hour, right?
Oh,
I know.
And everyone has
going?
to be in 240 characters or less.
Shelley, before Ian answers, do you know the answers to all those questions?
Good question.
I think I know some of the answers, maybe partial answers to those questions.
Just interested.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, Ian, we're just gonna hang up now and let you talk for the rest of the hour.
So, Ian, let's start off by sharing a little bit of your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about your family life, some of your trajectory, and what brought you to America.
Let's start off by clarifying my name. It's Ian James Williamson.
Ooh.
Ian as in Fleming, James as in Bond. So
somebody was a literary fan.
Wow. So I was born in the UK in a town called Warrington, which is in the northwest of England, and it sits directly between Manchester and Liverpool. Manchester and Liverpool are two cities in the north of England that have soccer teams that absolutely hate each other, and the cities generally hate each other. And the only reason that Liverpool and Manchester have never actually gone to war is because all they would gain is Warrington. So there was no point. That's how glamorous Warrington is. So yeah, I went to Thelwall County Primary School and then went to Lim Grammar School. Grammar school was then only 10% of the population. Get
Bravo.
me. Yeah, I went to grammar school. Then graduated, went to college in Manchester. Then unfortunately, my father died. Heart attack, massive heart attack, and could no longer afford college. And but managed to get myself an engineering apprenticeship in South Africa. And during that, with that apprenticeship, I got college. They paid for my college. It was part of the deal. It's in the middle of a great unemployment crisis in basically in the world. All the baby boomers were coming up, and there was more baby boomers than there was jobs, and so people were having to move around for jobs. So I ended up in South Africa, going to UNISA College, where I got my degree in industrial engineering. Was there for 6 years, and
Ian, can I interrupt and ask, just for orientation's sake, what time frame is this? Like, what years would those have been? Like, what? You don't have to give us the exact, just give us a general.
Sure. There was going to South Africa was in the 1980s, so Mandela was still locked up there, and apartheid was still in full swing, if you like. In fact, I was over there when the state of emergency was on there. If you remember the state of emergency, where people were necklacing, each other and whatever. Crazy time. In order to go out there, by the way, I had a girlfriend at the time, and in order for the company to pay for both of us to go out there, this wasn't the reason for the marriage. I liked her anyway, but they asked they said if we were married that they would pay for her to come out there as well and put us up in accommodation. So that's what happened. I got married very young. I was only 20 when I got married. We went out to South Africa, and all went well. Wow. The television wasn't that great, so we had 2 children. So both my 2 boys, both were born out in South Africa. We left because South Africa as a whole had was going from the empire state to independence, and civil war was breaking out all over the place, and there was a chance, as there was this getting closer to Mandela being released, that there would also be civil war in South Africa. So we did what was called the chicken run. We intended to go back to South Africa. However, the key point was my eldest son was 4 years of age. And in England, you start school at 4.5 years of age. In South Africa, you didn't start school until 7. And so our thought process was, if we stay in South Africa and things go bad, and then we have to go back to England, our son will be 2 years behind everybody else. If we go back to England and wait it out, and everything turns out well in South Africa, we'll return to South Africa because we loved it out there, and there'd be no disadvantage for the children. So that's the reason we left. I got back to the UK, and I got a job at a paper mill pretty much immediately as an engineer, and then I got a job at Eli Lilly. I was interviewed on March the 1st, which is my birthday. You can write that down. I'll pause so you can write that down. And
1960? You were born in 1960, Ian, is that correct? 62.
And
okay.
So I started on June the 1st, 1988 at Eli Lilly. And basically I'm still working for them now, 36 years later or whatever.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's been quite the journey for me. And then I was on a manufacturing site in... So let's go through the divorces. I guess we should go through.
By all means, let's go through the divorces.
They just fit naturally into the timeline, don't they?
So,
just the natural milestones.
What's the over-under on the divorces, Ian? Just give us a round figure there.
2. We got 2 in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But you'll hear from the...
Third time's
Only
a charm,
two.
Shelly.
You'll hear from the story that I'm pretty good at this marriage malarkey, I think. I'm averaging about 15 years of marriage, so that's not bad, I don't think, to be fair.
It's good.
First one lasted 20 years. So, yeah, empty nesters. When the kids...
One could also say you're on a declining slope there, though, Ian, so I might not...
Well, I've realised time's running out, and you've got to turn these things over faster. Yeah, so the first one was empty nesting, really. The kids left, I went to college, and it was me and Diane. I'm still friends with, I like to claim friends with both my ex-wives. I am. So anyway, we got
We'll have them on the podcast
No,
next time.
no,
to see if
no,
they
thank
do.
you.
Perfect. Got married early, and basically, obviously, got married too early. Very young kids, and when the kids left home, it's like we looked at each other, and we didn't want the same things or whatever. So that was a split up, and then the second marriage. That split up basically because we had habits that, basically irritated each other. Things like I loaded the dishwasher incorrectly, and she went around sleeping with other men. That kind of thing.
Okay.
So that ended that marriage.
I think that's a tie.
Fair. And so and then so we've quickly gone through some stuff there, haven't we? Let's go back to the kids. So kids are now 40 and 38. My eldest lives in Switzerland with his family. I've got a granddaughter out there. And my youngest, 38, youngest, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's great.
Lives in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. So that's and they.
How did you end up in Indy?
Eli Lilly, the corporate centre is here in Eli Lilly, and they brought me over here in 2008. Pretty cool. I love it here. I am an American citizen, so there's that. I got my citizenship in 2014. Yeah.
Oh, cool. You went. What was the route?
Ian, I have nothing to contribute to this conversation except to say that the number one record in the U.S. when you were born was Duke of Earl by Gene Chandler, but perhaps more significantly, the number one record in the U.K. was The Young Ones by Cliff Richard and the Shadows.
Those are two facts that I actually knew. That's
okay.
Brilliant.
Well, there you go. Then I have nothing to contribute because you already know that.
So Jim,
go ahead, Peg.
Oh, I'm probably going to say what you're going to say.
You can go.
That Ian does a song of the day for his staff, his team every day.
Oh, great. What's the song today?
It was Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves.
Is it a sing-along?
Katrina and the Waves.
Do you know why it was that?
It's a great song.
Why it would be that today?
Why would it be that today?
It's the 19th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina.
Ah.
Good call.
Nice.
I like the weather. I'm big into the weather. You need to know
Today is the actual 19th anniversary day of it hitting. Wow.
It is. I got that in my history email that I get.
Yeah.
I want to ask Ian, why did you decide to become a citizen?
Why?
A U.S. citizen.
A U.S. citizen. There is only one, Jim. There's only
okay.
one.
Thank you.
The answer to that is, why wouldn't I? I love this place. I certainly love the people in the Midwest. They are I've lived in obviously South Africa. I've lived in Europe. I did a short-term assignment for 6 months in Malaysia, and the people in the Midwest are the most gentle and a little bit naive people I've met in the world. They're beautiful people, and America, it's. Americans are their own worst critics. It's literally the best country. I travel a lot with my job, and this is the best country in the world. It's got its problems, but there isn't a country out there without its problems. But it's really.
Have you written that down, John? Because I just want to remind you.
Yeah, honestly, it's still the. Yeah, anybody who thinks it's better anywhere else, go try it.
So you're one of those Eli Lilly guys who's been traveling his whole career, like 3 weeks out of 4 every month, your entire career.
I wouldn't say it was 3 weeks there, but I've travelled the world several times. I mean, my main destinations. Wow. India is the only country that I want to go for a weekend. I don't want to go there for long. I just want my senses to experience it. I want to smell it, hear it, see it. and then get out of there because I think I'd be scared stiff by it. But
scary.
India's the only, but yeah, all over Asia, Japan, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, incredible life, honestly, on the back of Eli Lilly.
Yeah,
Really,
Lily's
really
treated you well.
fortunate. Yeah.
So, Ian, if you were going to pick one place in the world you wanted to go visit for a week, where would you go? What country?
Oh, crap. Do you know what? There's no. I'm a really bad tourist, and there's nowhere I'd want to visit for a week. I like a couple of days everywhere. Honestly, I get bored very quickly. I see things, I like it. The most impressive thing I have seen that blew my mind in all the world icons is the Colosseum. The Colosseum. God. Unbelievable. The best looking modern city is Sydney, Australia. Go there, you feel like you're on a film set. Honestly. Been there several times, and every time it doesn't let me down. It really is a cool place. Vietnam, crazy traffic. I thought the traffic was crazy in Malaysia, and then I went to Vietnam, and it's like, oh, send me back to Malaysia. It's.
Ian, can I ask you another question? Is there any place in the U.S. that you haven't been that you would like to go?
Sure, I definitely like to see Mount Rushmore. I definitely want to go and see the what's the big trees called? Shelley, help me out here.
The redwoods.
Yeah, the redwoods. Definitely want to see that. I mean, I'm sure Mount Rushmore is going to be a complete disappointment. Most of the things I've seen in the world, the Sydney Opera House was a disappointment. It's like, nah, it's not white, it's kind of yellowy.
Have you seen the Grand Canyon?
No, I haven't seen the Grand Canyon.
Oh.
Sounds like a Western trip is in order here, Shelley. Grand Canyon and Mount Rushmore, maybe Old Faithful and all that jazz, Jackson.
Yeah, so I didn't actually complete my life story because there's a certain other pivotal moment in my life where I was in the...
Is it happen in a bar in Indianapolis?
Did, yes. And I just want to clarify something because either somebody drank too much or somebody's got a really poor memory. Because when I introduced myself as Ian Williamson and what do you do, I was being interrogated at this point. What do you do? And I said, I work in animal health. Peggy definitely did say, "Oh, so you kill puppies?" That was the same. It's like, wow, okay. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, dark humor, dark humor, very dark. Welcome to Peggy Bennett's world.
Funny because when I was sat at the bar, I was sat at the corner of the bar, and the two ladies were sat down this side, and there was an outside wall that had been peeled back, and so I couldn't actually see either of them. They were just kind of silhouetted, yeah. And it was a really.
That's all you need. That's all right. You needed. The silhouettes.
Yeah. It was. God, yeah. It was quite the moment.
Wait, so who had too much to drink in that scenario? The person who was talking about dead puppies, or the person who was perceiving that, feeling bad about the fact that they were being accused of killing dead puppies?
It's possible they all had too much to drink.
I was just checking.
Well, that was certainly my intention of being in the bar.
And you have to remember that my line of work is clinical research, so I go right for experimentation. And
you're a questioner. You're a doubter. Like, what does he really mean by saying that?
Yeah, Peggy, you're also working it with like life and death pretty intimately too. You're at the right of it. You're right.
And I love puppies.
I know you love puppies. Yes,
especially the ones that smoke. Right?
Yeah, right.
Especially the ones that don't ask for sex, right, Peggy?
Right.
Excellent.
Exactly.
I just want to say that I've talked to Ian about this before, that I find it interesting when he talks about how much he loves this country. And I have a daughter-in-law who's also from overseas, and she says the exact same thing. She just absolutely loves it here. Has no desire to move back to England or France. And it's interesting because we all sit around here and say, I'm going to move to a different country.
The freedom of speech you have and it's unbelievable.
And it's playing out in this election.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, I mean, don't get me
You can
wrong.
say anything.
We're kind of tearing each other apart, but the fact is, you can do.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, you've just got to hope that the Constitution holds together and the checks and balances hold out here.
Yeah.
We're all saying some prayers about that, I think, Ian.
And
Absolutely.
Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire. It's always been here.
Absolutely.
It just feels bad for us. It's like it's always.
So
been
have you
this
been
way.
back to South Africa since you were the long time?
Yeah. We went back. Obviously, we left when the kids were young, and then when the kids were teenagers, we went back. A totally different place. I mean, we couldn't even get to the house that we lived in. It'd all been there was security there and whatever. It's kind of Africa's beautiful. There's definitely a different atmosphere. You've heard TIF, TIA. This is Africa. It's a different world, but I'm telling you, it's not. Certainly, South Africa is just as the infrastructure there is just as. I haven't been back there for it's probably over 20 years. I don't know, but the infrastructure was just as good as it is here. In fact, it was better than the UK. For sure. It was surprising. It's a really cool place. If anybody gets the chance to go to Africa, go.
I have fond memories, and I'd like to go back. But the story I tell that I so as I get older, I'm basically revisiting everything I've ever told as an anecdote when I was younger and having people debunk it. So let me do that now. The anecdote that I tell about South Africa was that when I first went to Cape Town and then eventually Johannesburg, but when I was in Cape Town, I realized that if I was at a restaurant eating. And I finished eating, and I didn't finish eating. I was still eating, but I was kind of taking a break. And I put my fork and knife down, and I sat back.
No need to swear.
That they whisked away the plate from me because it was somehow rude to leave food that you weren't eating in front of you. Is there any truth to that? Or is that one of those totally wrong stories?
Yeah, it's probably a totally wrong story.
That's what I figure. All right, that's okay. That's in keeping with.
They just wanted to shut down and get you out of there, I think.
That's possible too.
Yeah, I was going to say that happens in New York City all
that's
the time.
yeah.
They're just trying to get people out of the restaurant. But.
When I lived in Bangkok, they actually do not give you the check until you ask for it. And a friend of mine wanted to challenge that. So we sat at the restaurant, our plates had been cleared, we weren't ordering anything else. The waitstaff was lined up on the back wall, and finally I had to admit defeat. I'm like, we've got to ask for the check. This is not fair.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I love that. That's it.
I'm sure the waitstaff felt really good about that little experiment, John. Yes, they all wanted to go.
Yeah, Italy definitely does that.
The two white people were being difficult.
I hate having the check dropped on me before I'm done eating.
I do too.
It drives me ballistic. I'm like, I'm eating here.
I feel rushed.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can't stand it when they take the plate from when you're done, but your other dining friends are not done. No.
Yeah, that annoys me.
Yeah, just wait till everybody's finished.
In Malaysia.
None of these things bother me, Ian, by the way, but it's also because I'm done eating before most people have started.
Me too.
So that's
me too. But in Malaysia,
do you want to have a contest?
No, you do not. It's not.
No. In Malaysia, their food coordination was atrocious. You would put the order in together, and somebody's meal would come out, and you'd sit there waiting for it, and it's like, no, better start eating, and you can finish your meal, and then the other meal would come out. It's like, wow, these guys, and that was normal. There was just no like, here we are, present it together. None of that. It's like, just when it's ready. Yeah, that takes longer to cook, so that's why you're waiting. There's no like, well, let's start that first, and then
I don't mind those. I mean, if it's a cultural difference, that's acceptable. If it's just a screwy if it's a screwy like kitchen, they don't know what they're doing. That's one thing. But if it's like that's the cultural norm. That's the cultural norm. I can deal with it. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
It's fun when it gets like
it
that.
is. It's fun. It's like this is part of the nature of a culture. Yeah,
right.
It's great.
So I have a question with something that was a bit earlier, changing completely course direction. Ian, so
Shelley, are you asking this question because you know the answer to it or because you want to
I know the answer to it, but I think
all right, go ahead.
it's intriguing. Coming from the background that Ian shared with us, his education and where he went in engineering, I would like him to describe a little bit about what he actually does now, and the impact that has globally.
We're not going to talk about killing puppies, though, right?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry. So, Ian, what do you do?
Go ahead, Ian. What is your global impact?
For some reason, Ian, I think you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah,
I don't know
Ian is
why you
muted.
got muted. I might have done that.
Did you hit a?
Is that on the screen?
Can we fix that?
I don't know. I'm hitting mute, and then I hit
Nope.
and I hit
Oh,
secret camera
no.
too. Okay, wait.
Tragedy.
I can't seem to get it. Yeah,
There we
unmute
go.
yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry
There he's
about that,
back.
Ian.
Yeah.
Now you're back.
I was toying with something,
Obviously,
But just so the background, John spent 10 minutes before the podcast yelling at all of us because we didn't have the proper lighting.
the
or
software
proper
has changed
something.
in the last
And
5
then
minutes.
he's
We've
the
been away
one
from this for
who
3
screws
years,
this up.
folks.
Stop
3
pushing
years.
buttons. Okay.
Ian, what is your global impact?
I know it's a pretty global impact, Shelley. You're bigging me up there, but I'll take it. Working for Eli Lilly, I ended up working for the animal health section where we kill puppies. No, everybody. And we went independent from Eli Lilly in 2017. You can see the correlation from Eli Lilly stock price in 2018 compared to now. It just shot up since they offloaded the animal health division. But I look after, I'm in supply chain, and my team is called the Life Cycle Management Team. So I have teams in Malaysia, Australia, Poland, the UK, Sao Paulo in Brazil, and obviously here in the US. And we control and create all the artwork for the printed packaging materials. So any product that they sell. And I also have a team of launch managers. When we're launching a product in any country globally, I have a group of launch leaders who actually project manage those launches. It's a pretty cool job. I love it.
Cool.
It's nothing to do with engineering.
Right.
Nothing.
That was my point.
Waste of time going to not waste of time because the segue was very smooth. But it's like one day you wake up and think, how did I end up here? You know, it's a really cool position. I've got a great team of people who work for me. They make me look fantastic, and so I try to be a fantastic boss to them. And as you've heard, traveling around the world, it's now stopped since COVID. Obviously, we did a lot of this during COVID, and so now we still do a lot of this. But I'm also trying to back off from the travel and give my team more opportunities to travel because, as I alluded to earlier, I'm the world's worst tourist. Once I've seen it once, I don't have to see it again.
And do you have something that you'd like to do in Indianapolis now that would keep you home
Yeah,
more?
see Shelley Cummings.
Good answer. Hey,
trying to help you out.
yeah, no kidding.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, Ian, I have a question. So, is Lilly and your team one of the? Were you guys one of the companies that had like a massive factory in Russia that got taken over?
No. Well,
Ukraine. I feel like a lot of pharmaceuticals had these big factories that just got taken over by Russia.
It's really weird now. I mean, part of what's going on in Russia. Because of all these constraints on dealing with Russia, there's only certain countries, I think it's Germany and Poland, we can't do any business with Russia unless we're dealing through our German teams and Poland teams. Every other country in Europe can't even speak to Russia at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But you still are doing business with them, aren't you?
Yeah. It's seen as humanitarian because it's for the animals.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Nobody's killing puppies in Russia.
Sure.
Peggy.
Nobody, I'm sure.
Sure.
So, Ian, when you're not traveling, what do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, as little as possible. I go to the gym. I love the gym. I like gardening. I'm a weather freak. But that is part of my challenge as I enter my 63rd year in life is I need to retire, and I can retire, but I don't know what to do when I retire. Luckily, I enjoy the job I'm doing.
Oh, come on.
Seriously.
Now, you see, Beth Shannon is our expert on retirement.
Give them some advice, Beth.
Been voted the world's best retiree.
Yeah, Beth
so.
can give you some advice on this one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course, Beth's plan is she travels all the time, which you don't want to do.
Oh, no,
so
no.
That's...
Traveling for leisure and pleasure, I'm okay with that. I like traveling. We're traveling tomorrow, right, Shelley?
We are.
It's only Miami, but
Where are you traveling
Miami.
tomorrow?
oh, I love it. Are you staying at the
So-
Park Central?
No, we're staying offsite at a JW Marriott.
Oh, okay.
Is there an
okay.
inside joke there that I didn't get?
No, I love the Park Central. It's an old Art Deco hotel on Miami Beach that I just love.
Yeah.
It's just
Switch your reservation.
No.
it's a little 4-story tiny little place that
Well,
never would
Shelley's
get built
also
today.
going partially for
Correct.
work, right? Isn't that
Correct.
right?
We're adding
Okay,
on
okay.
days ahead
It's a little
of
more
work, but we plan to go along the strip down there.
don't mix work with pleasure.
Oh.
Ian, you also are a bit of a political junkie. Don't you have like one TV over here is Fox News and one TV over here is MSNBC or something?
I do claim to be the most independent voter because I have things with the Democrats saying absolutely, and I have things with the Republicans saying absolutely. My mind is can't deal with them. Can't deal with them. I want a third party. I want a middle of the road party. Please give me some sense, people. Yeah. But
Nice.
Maybe
Well,
you
you
should
should-
run for
okay, well-
office. Maybe you should run for mayor of Indianapolis
that's,
or French Lick.
that sounds,
That'll keep you busy after you
Yes.
retire. There.
sounds grand. As long as there's a crown and a cape involved, I mean.
I think you have to
Okay.
win the Indianapolis 500 to get the crown.
He's almost going to. He's so good at it.
I am the Indiana state champion at holding a stein, so there's
Stein
that.
holder. He
Yeah.
is.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That's
Yeah,
That was
thank
impressive.
You. Thank you.
So that's why you go to the gym, right? So you can win those competitions.
It was a bonus from going to the gym. I didn't even know I was going to win that thing. I just thought I'm going to have a go at this.
We'll
And
put a
ended up
link.
winning,
We'll
so-
put a link to the photo in the show notes. We'll
Yeah.
make sure. to
So,
put a
so
link
now
to
I'm
the
under
photo.
pressure because the next Stein I've got to defend my title. The September
When is the
September
defense?
the 20th, 21st, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow! So
Yeah,
it's
it
coming
is,
up quickly.
Have you been practicing?
Hell's yeah. Honestly,
Good,
like
good,
a
good.
maniac.
Do you practice every day?
I do. I've got my weights. You can't see them. Can you see my weights there? They're just there.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
hold
Yeah.
them out all the
He's
time.
Yeah.
When you hold the stein in competition, is it full or
No, it's
empty?
full. It weighs about 5.
Is there a
It
penalty
weighs
if
about
you
5 pounds.
if you spill anything? Is there a penalty
I
if you
don't
spill
know
anything?
because to be honest with you, you'll see if you've seen the video, that thing starts shaking and you stop. But yeah, that's good.
What's the record time for holding?
I
the
think
stein?
it's 15 minutes. My time is 5 minutes and 30 seconds, so complete amateur, as you can see. But it was such a random event.
So is everybody else in Indiana?
Yeah,
apparently,
no, no,
But it was
Um,
like double the previous person. Your
Oh, wow.
time
No,
was.
yeah. The previous
Yeah.
time was 4 minutes and something, so that was
Yeah.
right.
Now, do they have divisions for between people who are drunk
No.
when they're
No,
doing
they
it and
didn't.
people who are
All
sober
come-
when they're
Very
doing
sadly,
it?
they didn't even have a women's competition and a men's competition. I mean, they just had. So the women were there with that. It's like, is that fair?
Be careful.
I know. I know. It's like,
Careful.
well, yeah.
Well, I mean, there are issues about body mass and that
Careful.
sort of thing. Well, I mean, Shelley, we do have separate competitions in the Olympics.
Well,
for
let's
men
True.
and
not.
women,
This
right?
yeah,
Kind of.
very sensitive
Do you
issue.
think we shouldn't have separate competitions for men and
I don't know. I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Oh, look at you avoiding it, Shelley.
I mean, I think that it would be a tremendous hardship on a lot of women if we were to abolish separate competitions in
I
most of those
agree.
categories.
It should be separate. I think I have to change one of my work travel trips to get home in time to watch the Stein holding contest this year.
We certainly have to get your priorities
Yeah.
straight. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I didn't have the
Yeah,
dates
just
yet.
quit
What's
your
the
job.
venue? Describe this. Yeah, quitting is the best. I recommend quitting. What's the venue for the Stein holding contest? Where is it?
It's at a
Like
brewery
a brewery.
outside
Yeah,
on
it's
a
a
porch.
German themed brewery. for sure. All their beers are German, so
We
German
should have
based.
coordinated better and done a live one and
Yeah,
videoed it,
yeah,
a live
yeah.
podcast. Maybe next
Well,
year.
the last time we discussed doing a live podcast, you were absolutely against the idea, as I recall, Peggy.
If it has a theme, like a
bar,
Stein.
like a bar.
So in other words, it was. So I suggested we do one on election night. If we did it from a bar on election night, would you be okay with it, Peggy? What?
Yeah, as long as we don't have to talk about. I was with Beth. I just don't want to say anything that needs to be
I think
edited
that's a really
out.
bad idea, guys. The election goes one way or another.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to do vote and go, vote early and get out of the country, so I can either
And go to
celebrate
bed.
or
I'm gonna vote and go
hide.
You're
straight to
leaving
bed.
what an authoritative person has said is the best country in the world.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is because of the checks and balances. I'm telling you, those.
Look at you pulling out your constitutional terminology.
But the whole presidential thing is a mess, guys.
I have to vote
mess.
absentee this year because I'll be in Hawaii when it happens. And so.
Aww.
Why don't we all go to
Shelly out.
Hawaii and do the election night podcast from the
All right, I might be
Poor
able to do
That
that.
interesting.
I'm in.
So I
Or
haven't
Japan.
been
We could go to
absentee voter
Tokyo and do
since
it from there.
college.
You haven't been absentee voted since you were
Yeah.
in college? I vote early. They have early voting.
Why do you
and I
do
always
that?
vote early.
Because you know what you're going to
Just 'cause
do
it's-
already, so it's like
I do. I know who I'm voting for, yeah.
Claim that I'm a swing voter, that mine can change. So your mind's made up, no matter what. Obviously,
Well, let me just
He's in
say that
Maryland.
I
It doesn't
am
matter what he
actually
votes.
somewhat sympathetic to your view that the parties could drive further to the center,
Yeah.
and I would prefer that. So I'm somewhat sympathetic to your point of view, but I think that the current two choices, from my perspective, one is clearly better than the other, albeit I don't agree with everything on that side, but I think it's clearly better. Let me put it to you this way. In a better world, if the Republicans had nominated, say, Nikki Haley, I think this could be a really interesting election, because I think that I think it's a shame we don't have two parties. I'm not saying Kamala Harris is the best person the Democrats could have put up, although I think she's done very well, since she's certainly an improvement on who they had before. And if the Republicans had put up something like Nikki Haley, I think this would really be a fascinating election. I think there'd be a lot more people in the middle.
I think it'd be fantastic to have two women running for it. Honestly, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be the ultimate?
It would be fine with me.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are other people, but I just picked that name in the hat because she did run, and I think she is a very credible person. And I don't agree with her about everything, but I don't agree with everything on the other side either. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Well, we're going to have to check back with you later, Ian, to see how you decided to vote. It'll be our own little poll here. But people like you are going to decide this election.
Not in Indiana.
Not in Indiana, yeah.
No.
Well, not in Indiana, but there's no reason to think you're different from swing voters in the other states like Michigan or Pennsylvania or
simply the fact that you're
Wisconsin.
saying you're going to wait till the last minute to vote puts you in the category
but
that,
you are
that
gonna
most
vote.
of us are not in.
I will definitely vote. Too many people have died in wars for me not to vote. It's like, this is the whole thing.
Fair enough.
Come on, this is what we've got to do. But, Kamala she really does need to get into an interview and answer. I can't understand why she's doing this first interview with a vice president by her side. It's like, come on, you're going to lead the free world here. Do it independently. Very disappointing. I've not seen the interview. I think
it's actually on.
Okay.
We're recording this at
I wish I'd have
between
recorded
7 and 8 p.m.
Right.
on Thursday, August 29th. The interview is going to air like right after we're done
good.
here.
And I will watch
so
that,
you can watch it.
But
and I think to be fair, I think she will be doing other interviews. And of course, she's doing the debate, at least one debate with Trump.
It's weird that she's changing the rules of the debate than what Trump had. The Democratic Party are changing. They wanted these rules, no questioning between, silence between silencing the microphones.
You mean the silencing the
and
mic?
now they want it open. It's like, I don't like that. It's like, come on.
I think it's. I mean, to be fair, I think it's all gamesmanship.
Yes.
It's Trump keeps saying he's not going to go, and then he is going to go, and I think this is just their way of getting back. But I mean, that's just routine.
Ian, you don't like that. You don't like the DNC changing their mind, or you don't like the turning off the mic.
Well, the rule is now they turn off the mic.
No, I know, but I thought he was saying they changed.
It wasn't the rule, and then they wanted it for this
for Biden, for the Biden debate.
For the Biden debate, and now they don't want it, and it's like.
So you don't care about the microphone being on or off. You just care about them changing their mind.
Changing them, but yeah, because it's too playing games for me.
It's politics. Shocking they would do such a thing in politics, right?
Yeah,
it's really
I do think
it is
it's
playing.
good to
No,
have
of course
the mic
it's a
off,
game.
though.
Unquestionably, it's a game.
Like,
yeah.
Having the mic off in between.
I don't think they really care
good.
about it that much. I think it's just a thing.
Oh,
it's
no.
A thing
having the mic off in between, I think, is good for Trump because can't keep his. He's going to. If they open those mics, he's going to say something. It's. I don't blame the Democrats for doing it, but it's like you're actually saying there's a difference between a man being there and a woman because they're waiting for that derogatory comment from a man to a woman. That's why they want the open mic, and you can see the game they're playing. It's like, okay.
I think he's going to say it at some point anyway, whether or not it. I don't think they necessarily.
Oh, the guy's a disaster. The whole Trump. I don't know how this country got into its mouth. I don't know how Trump became so dominant, and the Republican. He's a bully, and the whole Republican Party are just scared of him. How did he command that? The guy's not that smart. I don't know. Very sad. And that's why I may not vote. No, I will vote.
Oh, he will.
Do you still follow politics in the UK?
I don't see enough of the news in the UK. I know the Conservatives were in and completely screwed it up. They had about 18 years in, and the economy was a mess at the end of it.
Right.
It was just really, really bad.
The whole rest of the world is going radical right wing and somehow and super conservative and kind of even borderline fascist, and somehow the UK goes the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Well, that's not exactly true, John, but there's some truth to it.
No, it was.
But of course, as usual, you've overstated the case.
No, I don't think he has, to be honest with you. It's a complete abuse of power.
I don't think the rest of the world is going fascist quite clearly, but
Marine
I think there's some conservative.
There's definitely a swing that way, isn't there?
Marine Le Pen did not win the election, right?
The National Assembly.
She did not win the National Assembly.
They got it. I know, but they had a period of time where it was looking like they were going to get everything.
Yeah, but they didn't, in fact.
Enough. I know. They're getting a lot of the right and nationalist kind of cruel, angry right is getting gaining a lot of traction worldwide.
There is a strong.
And the UK went the other direction.
There is a strong sense in a lot of countries throughout the world of sort of tribal conservatism. There's no question.
Well, it's all those things that it's all these ugly things about immigration and people and fear of the other, xenophobia. It's things that we thought we were past.
Sure. But I mean, part of it is that we live in an age where things have changed so rapidly that, especially for people of a certain age, there's a certain strong fear about all this change. And I think one of the best things, I didn't actually see the speech live, but one of the best things that Bill Clinton said at the convention was that it was important for that party to speak to the people who support the other side and to try to understand where they're coming from.
Oprah said that too.
Failing to do that is a major mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim and I and probably Beth are urban kind of and West Michigan nice would not even come close to being as probably as harsh. Have you been to Grand Rapids, Ian?
Yes. Hells yeah.
What did you do there?
Went to breweries.
Which
our
was your
theme.
favorite?
That's a surprise. That's a surprise.
Did you go to like trivia night?
No, we did not.
No.
We danced in Peggy's garden. That was fun. While I remained vertical for most of the time.
Nice.
Did you meet Peggy's dog? That's the important
Dogs.
question. Dogs.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Plural dogs. How did you get along with
Great.
the dogs?
The dogs are
Good.
cool. Yeah, no problem. They don't like other people walking past the house, of course, but apart from that. But yeah,
Of course.
yeah, Grand Rapids was fun because we did a lot of drinking, right?
Yeah, we went to the
A
lake.
lot
So
of
when are
laughing.
you guys visiting Chicago?
Yeah, we have to get
Great
that
question.
on our bucket list.
Come anytime, Ian. You're invited anytime you want to come.
I don't know
Shelley's
where you guys
not invited
are.
anytime,
Jim
but
and
you
John, where
are.
are
So
you?
I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
Jim is in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is basically
But
DC.
only temporarily. I'm soon going to be in College
Jim, and no
Station,
offense, we do need
Texas,
to transfer. We need to translate to that. When does your lease run out exactly?
September
Oh.
30th.
You got a month.
Jim,
So
you're
you got
gonna be
literally 1 month.
homeless.
It's very exciting. There's nothing more
I'm
exciting.
going to be in College Station, Texas.
Jim,
apparently. That
my
seems to be
mother,
where I'm-
when I told her you had 1 more month of
offered
and
to
then
let
you
me
were
stay
moving,
with her.
she was like, "That's going to be really hard. He's lived there a long time."
His whole life. Yeah.
Wow.
It's true. Not in this
No.
Jim is
apartment
moving to
building,
New
but in
York,
this-
Ian.
It's a big
New
adjustment.
York
Jim, it's-
City.
Well, it remains to be seen.
Ironic that the
you know.
homeless guy's wearing a shirt and tie, I think.
I know.
Well,
When are
he's
you going
not
to pack
homeless
your
yet.
clothes?
I'm pretty much look like a homeless person anyway.
Whatever.
There's actually a story. John and I know each other originally from the fact that we both used to coach high school debate. And this is actually a true story. So there was a tournament at Berkeley, at the University of California in Berkeley. And some high school debaters are riding down Telegraph, which is the main street in Berkeley, for those of you who don't know. And one of them looks out the car and says, "God, that homeless person looks just like Jim Gentile." And another one looks at it and says, "That actually is Jim Gentile."
Oh no.
And that's a true story.
And when my sister first saw Jim, she thought he was on the custodial staff at the Labor College.
But she should have thought, because Beth was in charge of the custodial staff, there's no way Beth would have ever hired me. So
I inherited
that's,
staff, Jim. I didn't get to build my own team, so you
Yeah,
work with what
that's
you
true.
got.
Yeah, that's true. I would have been the worst person on the custodial staff.
So I think I have one
Um,
more question for the last 7.5 minutes or so for Ian.
Is it a
It
7-minute
is.
question?
That's a good
It
one.
is actually.
Wow.
I have a question for Ian before you
Okay.
Oh
finish.
no,
but
you go ahead. We're gonna end on my
you do
question.
your question first. No, we're going to end on my
Oh.
question.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
We're
we'll
going to
see.
end on my answer, apparently.
We'll see if there's time for your question, Jim, because my question is, please share all of the things that you love about Shelley.
That's not far from my question, but go ahead. Talk fast, Ian,
What?
because you have a lot to say to answer
I
this
couldn't
question.
resist.
This is such a setup. It's so mean. Poor guy.
No, it's,
Just say you like her friends.
And it can't be because I mow the yard.
right.
Or her dog.
Intelligent, compassionate,
Oh.
so loving.
Okay, stop. I can't take
Well,
I
it.
would do it as
Beautiful.
I would do this.
Don't
as
forget
a-
beautiful.
Beautiful goes without saying. Look
You
at
got to
that
go
picture.
7 minutes,
Okay.
buddy. You got to start moving
In
anecdotes.
my
Teasing.
experience, limited as it is, beautiful never goes without saying when you're talking to a woman.
Got it.
You
Got
can
it.
stop.
Not just a
No.
But I'm sure you're better at this
No,
than I
no.
am. So.
Shelley has saved my life. Honestly, I feel like a different person because Shelley's in my life. It's pretty incredible.
So I had an idea before the Family Feud thing came up. I had an idea that what we should do on this podcast is do a version of the old game show where we were going to have Shelley be silenced and not be able to hear, and we were going to ask you 3 questions that you would predict how Shelley would answer, and then see if you were
Okay.
right, Ian. So
I'm
maybe
up for that.
we'll do that the next
I like
time you
that.
come on. Yeah.
I like it too.
We'll do that the next time you come on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I feel honoured.
So my question is, what are your intentions towards Shelley?
Okay, Dad.
The answer to that
I am the oldest one on this
is they are
podcast.
all
Oh, just
honourable.
barely.
Excellent.
Oh,
That is the
very
right
good.
answer, Ian.
Good
good.
answer.
You've read Pride and Prejudice.
It's true.
Are you a Darcy
I would.
Miss
from Pride and Prejudice?
I've never seen Pride and Prejudice.
or
You've never
read
read
it
it
or
or
read
seen
it. What kind of Brit are you?
Well, we have some homework for you
Yeah.
to do now. I'm going to give you a reading list, and
I'm going on vacation. Maybe I'll.
Beth, did you want to ask
perfect
Ian your
for
question
Miami.
from last time? Did you
No,
want to
it ain't.
repeat the question you had last time?
I don't remember the question.
I don't remember it either. What was Beth's
I
question?
think your question was, does he have a brother?
Oh, right.
I think that was go ahead.
No, I have a sister. I have an older sister who's 65 and is an absolute anomaly. I mean, 15 years ago, she wouldn't run to catch a bus, and now she's doing triathlons and marathons and
Wow.
wild stuff. She's crazy, and I do love her, but I want her to stay in England. And I was always Mum's favourite, just saying. Both my parents have passed, by the way, so Mum and Dad. Dad died early. Mum just died. Gosh, it was in COVID year. It wasn't due to COVID. It was dementia and Alzheimer's. Very sad. But yeah, I was definitely Mum's favourite, and Linda hates me for it. And that's great.
All right, we're going to have Linda on sometime because I think we want to hear her side of this story.
For sure. Yeah, so my sister's
All
got
right.
3 kids and 2 dogs, and they live in a house that's about the size of one of your bedrooms or something. It's a ridiculous situation.
But she
British
makes it
people
work.
and small hounds. Yeah, she makes it work. Yeah. Well, they've actually left now, so she's definitely making it work now. But yeah, I said this before, but I want to say it before we're about to wrap up now. Really, thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, you'll come back, right?
I'd be on every bloody podcast. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, an invite whenever you want me on here. Definitely.
All right. Well, you're going to be the standby because Peggy half the time says she doesn't want to
Yeah,
do
you can
the
be my sub.
Whatever.
Mhm.
It'll be better.
You have to get a red wig.
Yeah, there's
but,
3 of
I can
us
do that.
redheads.
I got several wigs.
And you have to first you have to say I have nothing to say, and then you have to talk, and then you have to make
Oh no, we're
snarky
not on
comments.
video, are we?
Yes, we are on video. Yes. We're on video, and
Okay.
apparently on video for the rest of time. Okay, who's
On that
wrapping up?
note, thank you, Ian. It was a pleasure having you. And thanks to Ted Enley for composing and performing the music you hear on this podcast. Thank you
Yes.
to our listener or listeners. We'd love to hear from
Probably
you.
more accurate to say listener. But,
We'd love to hear from you if you have a comment or reaction, good or bad, to this episode or to our podcast in general. Or do you want to be a guest? Please let us know. You can let us know what you think by leaving a comment on our website, www.insearchofanargument.com, or you can leave us a comment on our Facebook page or X. What the heck is X?
Twitter.
Oh, we do pay attention to any feedback we receive, and we very much appreciate it. If you like what
We
you're
actually
hearing,
don't pay attention to it, but we do appreciate it.
if you like what you're hearing,
Read it.
and you are listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate us. We will return soon. Talk to you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Ian.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't sign off yet.